Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. Happy New Year! I am so excited to share some big news with you guys. I have been asked to be on the design team for Topflight stamps. Now, I have been a huge fan of Topflight stamps from the moment they opened, and I found out about them because they brought awesome international stamps to the United States. And I am so thrilled to be representing them and getting to play with so many awesome, really cool designs. And for my first project, I'm going to do a Valentine's card with this really cute little bird here. It's from Art Stamp. It's a Carabella Studio, which is a French company. And I just think this little bird is so whimsical and cute. So what I've done is I've printed out on my computer this little sentiment that says, "You are the wind beneath my wings." And I have this stamp, which is a cling mount stamp, all set up on my Misty tool here. And I'm just gonna slide out that foam piece behind it because this cling mount stamp is thick enough so that it doesn't need that. That foam is really for acrylic or photopolymer stamps that are much thinner. So I'm taking my Memento Tuxedo Black ink and I am stamping or inking up that stamp for the first time. And because it's a raw stamp, I am going to have to re-stamp it a few times, and that's one of the benefits of using a stamping tool like the Misty. As you can see here, I'm having to ink it up 3 times actually, and I still come out with a really crisp, clean image. And now I'm going to just do some really simple Copic coloring. The image is really easy to color because it's already got all the shading built into the image itself. So I'm just going to go in and put in a base coat of this really pale yellow, and then I'm adding a little bit of shadow basically where the stamp has shadow already in the image with the next kind of darker color. I decided I want a little bit more variance. So I'm bringing in an even darker color. So I'm starting with a yellow and then it's going over more toward a yellow orange and then to a darker orange. And then I decide I'm gonna go back in and try and do a little bit of blending. But like I said, the image has so much shadow built in, I don't really need to do too much. I decided I want even a little bit more contrast. So I'm bringing in a color that has more of a red tone in it. It's like a scarlet color, it's a light rouge. And then I'm going back in and re-blending out so I don't get, the separate line areas of the different colors. And going back in and blending with the medium color works great for that. And I use the orange, the yellow YR14 for the beak. Now I decide to kind of give a sense of air and the movement of air around the bird. I'm gonna put in some pale blue. This is the lightest blue that I have. It's a B000. I'm just going around the image and I decide I'm gonna kind of do some swirls and swooshes underneath the wings in particular, following kind of where the feathers, the longest feathers or the pointed feathers are. I'm adding just some really faint swooshes. And I figured, this was such an easy image to color. If I didn't like it at the end, I could just redo it and not put in these swirls. But I really wanted to give more of a sense of movement with this image, especially with the sentiment that I've chosen to go along with it. And I'm just going around the whole image essentially with this really pale blue and testing out the swirls. I end up really liking them, so I'm going to re-emphasize some of that with a darker blue. This is a B01. It's still really pretty pale, but I wanted to particularly emphasize the bigger swirls and kind of where the image has little nooks and crannies. So where those swirls start at the tips of the feathers and kind of underneath the wings where the wings attach to the body, I wanted to have slightly darker shadows. Anywhere there's kind of like an inlet in the image or a pinched area, I wanted to have a little bit darker blue. And I really like how that kind of gives more of a sense of dimension, which I don't know if that makes sense with an image about air, but I really do like how that adds kind of a three-dimensionality to the air around the bird. And I wanted it to look like the bird is swooping up, so I did those little swoosh lines at the bottom of his feet as well. I'm blending the two really pale blues and the slightly darker blue with the B00, and that's just for not getting harsh lines around the two different colors where they meet. And it's a really quick and very, very forgiving blending to connect those two. And now I decided I'm going to have the tail feathers and the feathers above his head painted a darker blue. So I've chosen like a kind of a Prussian, or the B39 is actually called, Prussian blue, and then the 37 is called an Antwerp blue. And then I'm adding a kind of a mid-tone, a manganese blue. And I like how those blended really well together. But it's coming out looking a little dark, so I decided I want to add some shimmer to the whole bird, and so I'm using my clear wink of Stella to go over the entire bird body, the wings, and it doesn't come across very well in the video itself just because of my lighting inside, but there's a really beautiful shimmer that comes from adding this clear wink of Stella. And I'm just, loosely going over the entire bird, trying to follow along these little more delicate tail feathers, and I think that shimmer adds quite a bit to this image. And then next I thought, I'm gonna kind of try to lighten up the darker blue areas and just do some dotting. This is a technique that I think Kathy Rakusin does a lot, and I really think it made some of these darker areas pop much more, just adding these simple little dots. I decided some of the wing feathers also could use a little pop or brightening. So I'm just adding some little dots to the tips of some of these feathers that have a darker look, just because the ink that I used for the stamp was a black ink. So I really think that adding those little tiny white dots adds so much. I'm also doing that at the tips of the tail feathers as well, just to bring in those little white highlights. And I think lastly, I'm gonna add some glossy accents to the beak, the feet, and I think I also added it to the eyes, although I missed that in the video taping. And then I decided I'm going to do another technique that Kathy Rakusin does, which is after Copic coloring, adding a little bit of color pencil detail. Color pencil, because it doesn't, seep through the paper, you have a lot more control over it, so it's really easy to add super fine details. And all I'm doing is I'm going back in with a kind of a pale or medium tone blue. This is a blue Mediterranee. It's a Prismacolor Premier color pencil. And I do one more layer of blue, which I missed in my videotaping, but I also add a little bit of blue denim, which you'll be able to see in the final pictures that I will add to the end of this video. Along with a few little sequins sprinkled throughout, that's the entire card. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and please go check out Topflight Stamps. The collection of stamps that they carry is just amazing. You'll love it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.